There are two sides to each of us. Some call it the evil and the good. Some say the bad dog and the good dog inside us. We can say the Duryodhana side and the Arjuna side inside us. I call it the wild side and the spiritual side of us. So the wild side, it is connected to all the karmic ties that is binding us in this material world. A soul exists in the material realm as long as it is bound by different karmic ties. So these karmic ties are a result of the person's past thoughts, desires, motivations, and actions. So throughout many lifetimes, the person can become bound by increasing layers of different karmic ties. So the wild side within us is what is creating this bondage because of different unfulfilled desires, because of different kinds of samskaras and different baggages that we are carrying. So how can a person become liberated from karmic ties? I actually wrote a whole book called The Wild Side Inside. So in Vedic astrology, the Rahu and Ketu represent those previous life baggage that we are carrying. That Rahu and Ketu side is what represents the wild side in us. Those unfulfilled desires, that hankering, that craving that is actually making us get more and more entangled. So what it does is, karmic ties bind the person to certain situations, certain people, certain thought patterns, certain behavior, certain views and expectations. So it's like a large curtain. It's a constraint, a limitation because of certain karmic baggage. So as long as a person is bound by a certain karmic tie, he cannot escape the influence of it. And that karmic tie can be represented by different planetary influences. Not only Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu give us the core issue that has brought us back into this world. The core lesson that we need to learn. But there are different planets which gives us different experiences, trying to remind us of the lessons we need to learn. So all these karmic ties can be compared to different colored wires. Imagine different wires which are wrapped around the soul and inhibit the soul's nature, the natural tendency of the soul from being exhibited. So each time a person is praying sincerely, each time there is true repentance, each time that a person is engaging in pilgrimage and is engaging in spiritual activities, sadhana, then these karmic ties are slowly, one by one, the wires are dissolving. So following spiritual practices therefore gradually liberate a person from all karmic ties. Because that ties is what is constraining the freedom of the soul. And these karmic ties are keeping us from developing our full potential, and they are stopping us from making spiritual advancement. So it's not a very easy task to dissolve these karmic ties, but the ancient esoteric scriptures reveal that there is a beautiful garland of verses which is known as the Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu or Krishna, and it was spoken by Bhishma Dev, which is specifically intended to liberate our minds from all the karmic ties. So the more a person chants these mantras, repeats and meditates upon the verses and gets insight about the qualities of the Supreme Lord indicated in those verses, the mind becomes more clear, more controlled, more focused, more steady, more accurate, more content and more peaceful. And as these verses connect the mind with the spiritual reality, they also empower us to have discrimination and make proper decisions to progress in one's material and spiritual life. So this great epic Mahabharata can be compared to a celestial pearl necklace in which the pearls represent different divine personalities. And two crest jewels represent the Bhagavad-gita and the Vishnu Sahasranam. So Vedic scholars, they conclude that the essence of teachings of Mahabharata can be found in Bhagavad-gita, and the essence of Bhagavad-gita is contained in the Vishnu Sahasranam. That's one opinion of a specific scholar. Now, Vishnu Sahasranam is basically glorifying the Supreme Person. And the person who's doing that is Bhishma Dev. So he's one of the most prominent figures in Mahabharata. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Yamaraj, that is the god of justice, he states that Bhishma Dev is one of the 12 Mahajanas, or the great personalities in the history of mankind, greatest teachers of mankind. So Bhishma Dev is originally one of the Vasus, the 8 brothers who reside in the higher celestial realms. Bhishma Dev knew that he had a specific purpose on earth that he needed to fulfill. Therefore, he took birth. And his involvement on earth was similar to that of a great actor in a play. He is from a different realm. He just came here to leave certain lessons for human beings. So Bhishma Deva lived with full valor, while at the same time he remained aware of his real identity as one of the Vasus. In the Mahabharata war, when Bhishma Dev had fallen, and at that time Yudhishthir Maharaj knew that the Pandavas will win the war. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, being a very righteous king, he was desperate to receive advice so that he would run the kingdom according to the highest principles of Dharma. And Krishna, who was very close with the Pandavas, understood this. So Krishna actually advised Yudhishthira Maharaj to approach Bhishma Dev and seek advice in the political affairs, and mainly to guide different kinds of human beings towards perfection of life. So Yudhishthira Maharaj asked several important questions to Bhishma Dev, and in response to those main questions that Yudhishthira Maharaj asked, Bhishma Dev answered in the string of these verses. He composed beautiful verses. And it is said how Yudhishthira Maharaj asked, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Who is the ultimate destination of all the souls? Whom should men glorify to attain peace and prosperity? And what is the best religious process? And he asked what mantras can be repeated so a person can transcend the cycle of birth and death. Bhishma Dev, being one of the Mahajans, the greatest human teachers in the mankind, he knew exactly how there are different types of personalities, there are different natures, different mindsets. And the Supreme Lord also has different qualities. So Bhishma Dev composed exactly the number of verses which is divided according to the number of the nakshatras. So he composed a specific verse that is applicable to the specific nakshatra and the specific division of the nakshatra as well. So there are exactly 108 divisions of the nakshatras, and so are the verses of Vishnu Sahasranam. For example, the first nakshatra is Ashwini nakshatra. So the first verse of the Sri Vishnu Sahasranam is applicable to the Ashwini nakshatra pada number 1, and so on. So when Bhishma Dev sang the Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1000 names of Vishnu, Bhishma Dev explained that either by meditating on these names or by invoking the names by chanting them, a person's mind can be lifted to higher consciousness. So after Bhishma Dev spoke these verses, Vyasadeva wrote down these verses, and there are 1008 names of the Supreme Person. And each one of the 1000 names is of full significance and refers to one particular guna or quality or characteristics of Krishna, the Paramatma. And the meanings of the names reveal to us aspects of Krishna's character, personality, and qualities. When a person repeats these names, he is deepening his understanding of and connection with Krishna. And if we repeat these Vishnu Sahasranam verses that are specifically meant for our particular nakshatra and the particular division, even without understanding perfectly or without perfect pronunciation, we will still be immensely benefited. The person who does not understand the meaning is like one who's tightly sealed. He has a tightly sealed jar of honey. While he has the honey, he still needs to figure out how to open the jar. And it's simply a matter of time before he will find a way to open it. So, the person whose pronunciation of Sanskrit is not perfect is like a child who speaks to his parents in broken words. So regardless of the child's mistakes, the parents will understand what he needs and will nurture and love him. Similarly, when we repeat these specific verses meant for our specific planet or nakshatra, the most important thing is the mood or the motivation in our hearts. Because Krishna appreciates our sincerity more than perfect pronunciation or complete understanding. So when greatly exalted persons such as Bhishma Dev, they always achieve various goals in one day. So when Yudhishthir asked Bhishma Dev for advice, Bhishma Dev's response was perfect answer to the question. It was also a beautiful glorification of Krishna and at the same time a prayer with powerful spiritual potency to purify people's minds. So Bhishma Dev very expertly composed the Vishnu Sahasranam, 108 verses, so that there are 4 verses which are connected to each of the 27 nakshatras. So each person's mind is influenced by the one of the 27 nakshatras, which create particular perception of life. The moon, for example, is the planet which is connected with our mind and all mental activities. Therefore, the nakshatra in which our moon is placed will to a great extent determine our way of thinking, believing, feeling and desiring. So our moon nakshatra in our chart can be compared to wearing a particular shape and shade of glasses. How we perceive the world determines how we will react and relate to others and the situations in life. So each of the 27 nakshatras will therefore give a person a specific shade and shape of glasses. So seeing the world through glasses is not a problem as long as we are aware of the fact that we are wearing glasses and that we keep the glasses rightly adjusted and clean. So we all have different natures. Not everybody are the same. Not all size fits all. But if we can be healthy individuals of that particular nature and purify our consciousness and our mind, we will immensely advance in the human form of life. So in order for us to accommodate, understand and cooperate with other people around us, it is very helpful if we can acknowledge that we are all different and we all have inherent different views and values, and that will not change. Acknowledging our own qualities, natures, in other words, acknowledging what shape and shade of glasses we are wearing, it helps us understand our perceived ideas, limitations and weaknesses. So we need to become aware of the shade and shape of other people's glasses as well, so we can communicate better, comprehend and support other people in our life. And we can accept that there is not one perfect view and that having different views is acceptable, normal and inevitable. Then we can save ourselves and others from arguments and frustrations. So we need to keep our glasses correct, adjusted, clean. Then we are not going to be influenced by distorted view and see the world as a dangerous place, but rather accept everything as the mercy of the Lord and keep working on ourselves, on our purification. So we can, with this gift of these verses, we can optimize our mental capacity by chanting these verses. So by just chanting the moon nakshatra's verses, we get amazing mental strength. And similarly, when we can chant the sun nakshatra mantras and other planetary nakshatra's mantras, we can unlock the full potential of our areas of our life, of purpose of our life. So as an expert doctor will give the patients the exact medicine that they need to become cured, these specific verses are given to help specific persons with specific nakshatras evolve to express their highest level of God consciousness.